Um, there's a whole plethora of myths in Linux, and one of them is that you can't edit video, which is a load of bull crap. And I would argue in a lot of ways that, especially for average end user stuff, Linux is probably the most economical video editor there is out there for the tools you get. It's like, Jordan, you're fixing to have to start, unfortunately, because your work doesn't like Linux, have to do a lot more video editing in Windows.
Yeah.
I feel for you. It's like
and I don't think it'll be a lot, but yeah, it'll be more than nothing, which is a little more than I'd like to do.
Yeah, anyways, now you have different experience with Kdenlive than me. I don't know, James, what's your experience with Kdenlive? Or do you do any video editing?
I have absolutely no experience with Kdenlive. Everything I've done editing in Linux has been either Pivot, but mainly OpenShot.
See, here's the thing. Jordan has crashing problems with Kdenlive.
I have it with OpenShot too.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's the reason I refuse to use OpenShot, because I have never been able to get through a single project with OpenShot without it crashing. I just haven't. And I'm like, I see where they're going, and it's yada yada. I just, no. This Kdenlive works fine. It does what I need. I don't, it's done.
But it's just, when you use Kdenlive, you have to learn something. OpenShot, you don't really have to learn anything to use it, and I just have, I'm too lazy to learn Kdenlive to use it. So
okay, give me an example of what you have to learn in Kdenlive, because I didn't really have to learn anything to use it.
I've tried them both, and OpenShot and Kdenlive they're pretty close analogs. The only difference that I could find was that Kdenlive offers audio thumbnailing and OpenShot does not.
Okay. What was it about Kdenlive you think you need to learn that was throwing you for a learning curve?
There's a more simple interface in OpenShot. I know this sounds bad, but there's less things shown to you at the start, and that just
the out-of-the-box interface for OpenShot is basically the way that I end up setting up my Kdenlive. I'll agree to that. It throws an awful lot at you. To a person who's completely unfamiliar with it, the default layout is it's a little bit daunting.
You see, and I didn't actually try it that much. It's kind of, yeah. I would like to learn it.
I tend to just use the default setting on it. I don't really screw with anything. I like having the multiple video and audio tracks and everything, because that's the type of video editing I'm doing. And the thing is, the first thing Kdenlive asks you, like the first time you launch it, it asks you, what video standard are you on? And it has a drop-down list. Why there are some missing, I'm willing to bet for the average end user, the one they're looking for is in there, because it has everything from DV video, HD DV video, like an HD camcorder would put out, all the way down to
there's 640 by 480 and QCI.
Yeah, it has both the NTFS and the PAL standards and the non-standard standards and letterbox and everything else, and it says there in parentheses what they are and the pixel size and everything else. It's like they're called things like VCD, DVD. It's the profiles that are there for the video standard for the project. I'd be willing to bet that's largely grandma proof. Even if grandma knows crap about pixels, she'll go, oh, I'm going to be making DVDs, so I want DVD widescreen or DVD 4:3. I think grandma can figure that out if she's doing that. The other thing it asks you is how many video and audio tracks you want. Which means if you want it to be drop dead simple and just have the one track and the one thing, tell it one. It's because I split sound and audio and do other things like that, and am like sometimes overlaying audio video track 1 over video track 2 for green screen or other things. by default, I just leave the 3, and sometimes I wind up having 7 video tracks because I wind up having to add them. But I personally think it hit that nail on the head between giving you just enough that you will go, oh, what's this thing I've never heard of here? And go, oh, that's a nice feature. And including enough default profiles so that you don't need to know how to create one yourself unless you absolutely have to. That why it's not perfect, I'd say it's 90 to 99% there for the average end user. But like, what thing is it that you think shouldn't be there? Just out of curiosity. Jordan? I mean, James?
Was that for me?
That's for James? Like, because you said some things that are there shouldn't be there.
I didn't say that. I just said some things that are there are intimidating.
Like, give me an example in specific.
I mean, I didn't, just use Kdenlive a second ago. This is when I was doing video editing. This was maybe 5 months ago when I had a class project, so I don't remember exactly. I just know there was more there in Kdenlive, and it was a little bit intimidating. I can't tell you exactly. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's not a singular mono distro. Like it's, I would say it's more in line with like Sony than it is with something like ULead, where it's just a singular timeline and stuff. I think where Linux gets a bad video rap, even though Cinerilla is a very powerful application, is it's not the most intuitive, is my honest assessment of it. It's very powerful, but I don't recommend anybody attempt to use Cinerilla without dedicating a weekend to sitting down and reading the manual. I don't. It's, and I only recommend Cinerilla for people who need those pro settings, who need the white.
Well, and getting back to the idea of the myth, there are actually a lot of people out there that just don't know that there are applications on Linux that'll do it. Someone earlier I saw a message from that said, don't use Linux, how will you ever edit your videos using a command prompt? Because they don't know.
If you're touched in the head, you can do it using a command prompt, but I think you're touched in the head to do that.
Is it really possible to do it in a command prompt?
Yeah.
you can split and join, and you can convert using FFmpeg and mencoder, and
that's like, and you can fully specify every aspect of the output and profile manually in the command prompt, along with some other essentials. And I'm like, you're touched in the head if you're doing it that way. It's like,
well, or if you just think that that's the only way that you can do it, that's really more of a troll response to it, assuming that everything is still command prompt, and it hasn't been for how many years now?
Going on almost 10, if not more.
I'd say more than that, yeah.
It's closer to almost 15 at this point. Which is the thing. It's yeah. Like the other thing, and I don't know if this got brought up when we briefly talked about this before, but usually the one you find by default is Cinerilla. Because if you go into any repo and search for video editing, they're going to be alphabetical by default. And Cinerilla will be the first one on the list. The other reason I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap, and what is it? Let's see, video. What is it? There's ones, I think it's PITIVI and other ones like that. Because Kdenlive, which I think is the best one for the end user, OpenShot's a good second. I honestly recommend you try both, I guess, is the honest assessment I'd give, just because depending on your individual tastes and what you're looking for, one will suit you more than the other. I think like you say, they're comparable. I just think Kdenlive's a little more intuitive to a completely novice user to find the more advanced options. But
I think OpenShot's made a lot of great strides in the last few releases. Like I said, they're pretty comparable at this point, and actually OpenShot has taken a few steps further in terms of what they offer. Like they offer 3D text and the ability to make intros in it very easily. But yeah, they're pretty close in terms of usability.
yeah, it's like it's what you're looking for in particular, and
just how it performs on your system. Because I've got
now
that
some of these
OpenShot
perform better in some distros than others. Is like you're saying.
And I've had some people that say OpenShot works great for me, but Kdenlive crashes every time. Other people say Kdenlive works great, but OpenShot crashes.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't use OpenShot because I can almost never get it to run. But the other thing is, I think what the current version of Kdenlive, I want to say, is 0.7 something.
771.
Yeah, which is. There are a lot. I have seen this in more than one form, where people say you should use this editor because it's the only one that's on version 1.0. It's the only one that's out of beta. And I launched this editor, and I'm like, this is a piece of crap. It's one thing that should be noted in Linux is almost none of the software in Linux has reached 1.0 software status. I mean, that's not 100% true, but there's a lot of things that are very usable, very stable. I'm not even sure they're actually a beta. I mean, Kdenlive is not a beta. But I mean,
it's considered stable.
Yeah, it's considered a stable release. I guess technically it's not a full sign if you go by the numbering system, but it's considered, that's the latest stable release. I think there's a 7, I forget if it's a 7.8 or 7.9 beta. That's not a public beta right now, but I forget. Or is that OpenShot? I might be confusing one editor with another here.
OpenShot I think is at 1.1 something.
Okay. Yeah, it's like don't listen to that malarkey. I've never seen any editor that gets recommended for that doesn't really fly right with. Anyways, is there anything else y'all can really think to say on this or not? Or I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Cinderella is worth learning. Have you ever screwed around with Cinderella, James?
No, not a very advanced video editor. My use OpenShot is because I look at it, I'm like, okay, this seems understandable. I use it. I mean, after you guys have talked about Kdenlive, if I was going to approach another product where I was going to do video editing, I would definitely try to use Kdenlive. But just when I did it 5 months ago, I was just looking for something that worked. I wanted to finish out my project in a week, so I used OpenShot.
Because OpenShot was always crashing on me, I could never really figure out if it had this. One of the things I love about Kdenlive is all the, aside from the pre-included templates, so I don't have to actually create templates for all the different output formats, you know, MP4, DVD, VOB, AVI. It's like there's pretty good standards there. I mean, I can edit them if I want, but I haven't really ever felt inclined to go add a new one. But I also like all the included effects and transition. You know, things like green screen, gray, sepia. You know, the basic little fun effects that somebody's going to want to use. Transitions, dissolve, text on things, other stuff. Does OpenShot have a comparable set of those?
Yes.
Okay. It's like
it used to be very difficult to get to them, but as of recently, they've added a similar panel as Kdenlive has with their list of transitions, their list of effects. Before you had to actually right-click on it and go down to properties and then go to effects and find the effect. And
yeah, it's like, because that's one of the things I like in Kdenlive, in that there's both the, unless you disable it, the effects toolbar where you can just browse through them, and there's also, you right-click on anything in your project, and there's it right there on the right-click. There's the video. There's all the video effects. There's the audio. There's all the audio effects. It's you know, drop dead simple. I don't have to go through 50 things. It's right here, right with what I'm screwing with, which is useful.